Guys, welcome back to Bloom. My name is Kanini. So let's talk about China and the US relationships. Basically, the Trump administration is saying to China, F you, go to hell, we have nothing to do with you. And if you think that I am joking, I will play this clip from Fox News.
Person for China's embassy in the U.S. telling Newsweek, quote, the U.S. government needs to earnestly abide by the one China principle and prudently handle Taiwan-related issues to avoid severe damage to U.S.-China relations. Senator, how are you planning on handling the China threat? And what does that mean for you in terms of the votes you're going to need in the Senate to align with Trump on China?
Well, first off, I've been very clear. The Chinese government wants to destroy your way of life. As consumers, don't buy anything Chinese. As a government, don't buy anything Chinese. As a government, do not continue to allow China to have, let them off the hook on all their violations of everything. They violate the WTO. Why did we give them most favored trade nation status? Why do they have that? Why? There's no logic to this. We got to step back and start saying, we've got to make big changes up here and say, that we thought that might make sense 50 years ago. It doesn't make sense today. We've got to change, and we've got to change quickly. They want to destroy us. That's their goal. They're sending all the fentanyl across the border to kill us. I mean, 78,000 people died of fentanyl? That's coming from China. The Chinese government is doing that to us. They're trying to steal our jobs, destroy our economy, destroy us, build a military to be able to defeat us, hurt our allies like Taiwan. We all have to wake up. Consumers, voters have to wake up. And Congress, we have to wake up and do something quickly.
Okay. Now that you've seen that, now let's look at Project 2025, and I want you to see their position on China and Africa. So one of the things that I'm going to read is from the page 12 of the Mandate for Leadership, which is Project 2025, and this is what the Conservative Party plans for America. The stance that they have on China is the same stance that they have on pretty much like in immigration policies, and also international organizations like the World Health Organization and the UN. They want completely to stop the UN and these supranational bodies from interfering with internal affairs of the US, and they want the border sealed. So this is what they say. International organizations and agreements that erode our constitution, rule of law, or popular sovereignty should not be reformed. They should be abandoned, like do away with them. And then they say illegal immigration should be ended, not mitigated, the border sealed, not reprioritized. And then they say economic engagement with China should be ended, not rethought. Our manufacturing and industrial base should be restored, not allowed to deteriorate further. Confucius Institutes, TikTok, and any other arm of Chinese propaganda and espionage should be outlawed, not merely monitored. Universities taking money from the Chinese Communist Party should lose their accreditation, charters, and eligibility for federal funds. So, at the federal level, those institutions are not going to be funded by the Conservative Party moving forward. So we can see that they are shifting completely. They want to do away with China. And then you wonder, okay, so what are they going to do? Here's the next thing, what they're going to do. They want to go to Africa and, get resources from Africa and revamp America's manufacturing. So they want more engagement with Africa. The reason that they are going to Africa too is because they don't like that China is going to Africa. So here's what they are saying. They're saying Africa. Since inception, USAID has had a strong presence in Africa, saving millions of lives through its pandemic and infectious diseases, especially malaria and HIV. And then he says the USAID, the agency, has not yet, the agency's efforts to reduce poverty and hunger has failed, and failure to generate wealth has provided opportunities for China to step in and become the continent's leader in trade, loans, and investments. So they're saying social services, health, water, education, like all these things are not working in Africa, and yet they have been giving aid. So they're like, you know what? There is an opportunity for us to move in Africa and bring investments there. And again, we see the US saying here that also Japan is moving in to get the resources from Africa. So the US want to spare no funds moving to Africa. They says there is no lack of funding to support Africa's economic rise. They don't want to spare anything to help Africa rise. Go to Africa. What the Conservative Party thinks now is that what is lacking is the strategic direction among US government and foreign aid agencies. This could go two ways. Africa could take the advantage of the position that it is right now. The world wants everybody, China and the US and Japan, they all understand that manufacturing drives economies around the world. Manufacturing is huge, but they don't have a lot of resources. Africa is the second largest continent in the world, so Africa has a lot of resources. Now, the problem with Africa is Africa has very corrupt institutions, and this makes Africa's institutions weak. So this corruption, where short-minded African leaders just think about their pockets, they could see this as an opportunity to exploit Africa further themselves. This is just going to make the US, more rich, But even if the US wants to step in and do business with Africa, I'm sure there are problems in Africa that would prevent Africa from rising if Africa truly does not do away with corrupt institutions. Look at what is happening in Africa right now. Mozambique protesting, Kenya protesting, all of this because of corruption. And if we miss this opportunity that the US is giving Africa and the opportunities that China can bring to Africa and Japan, if we miss these growth opportunities, we are done. Africa will be done. So, this goes ways. US is definitely going to keep moving to Africa. Another thing that the US is going to do, because it wants to discourage trade completely with China, is that it wants to stop Americans from the habit of buying goods from China. And I think that is why the tariffs will keep going up until, Americans start feeling, it's so costly to get things from China. I don't want to do it, And I think that's the agenda. Like, they want you to just be frustrated about getting stuff from China so that we can stop China. The US can stop China. And the only way that you can do that is to make economic policies that dissuade people, like stop people from the habit of buying goods from China. So you can see how inflation is. If we get 60% of the goods from China and you want to stop all that, you really have to remove economic incentives from people to go to buy from China if your goal is to make America great again and bring manufacturing here. I think the Republican Party definitely wants to make America great again. They want to bring manufacturing back to America and keep it here, because they view China as an enemy, and they are going to go to South America, they are going to go to Africa, they are going to do everything that they can to revive manufacturing back to America so that Americans can have jobs. Just make America like an industrial, like manufacturing country again. What do you think about this plan? For me, I'm excited. This is an opportunity, for Africa to do business with the US. A lot of Africans, like the US, and they share the same values with the Republican Party, that family values. Most Christians, Africa has a Christian, like most Africans are Christians. So, so there is a lot of like values that Africa and America share. And if Africans actually do business with the Republican Party, they can share the same values, like family values that are strong. They can share the Christian faith that are strong with Africa. I think it might actually be good if Africans align themselves with more of the Republican Party and not the Democratic Party. From a strategic point of view, I think that will be excellent. That's my point. That's my opinion. So, when I started looking at this, I was like, oh, Trump also has an agenda for Africa. And I was looking at it and I was like, this is good because, conservative values, whether you like it or not, are good for the family, for the, especially conservative values that help the family. They are good for the family. I don't know how they are going to implement this project, but on the surface, there are things that can make you, kind of like, can we really trust the Republican Party? Can we really trust them? But you're like, if they're promoting family values and Africa loves families, great, right? They're promoting Christian values and, that's the most popular religion in Africa, great. We have cause to think like Africa and America can do business. There is opportunity, great opportunity. And, one of the reasons that I like that is that both continents can stand to gain. Both continents can really stand to gain. America has great information technology. People in America use technology pretty quickly. They adapt very fast to technology. And they can bring that to Africa, information systems to Africa. Africa people, they are very good with multiple languages. So imagine African being a hub where people have multiple languages, so they can interact with pretty much every corner of the world. If you think that you need to exploit a human resource, in terms of labor, information technology, communication, all this, Africa is a good place to do that. Americans they will have to learn how to deal with African accents. Like if you think my accent is kind of like whatever, well, think about if you're talking to somebody from Congo who's kind of like has that French, accent, and they know a little bit of English, it's kind of like still like talking to a French person who has an accent, you will see a lot of that, like Americans who have to adjust their hearing to communicate with Africans because they say we have a thick accent. Well, you will have to deal with that in the future because part of this plan, the new age plan, the new order is that Africa and America will be doing business together, okay? And America is saying, to hell with China. We are done with you. Like we don't want your institutions here. We don't like TikTok, and we want our manufacturing back. And we will not allow you to come and steal our secrets. We are not going to think about anything about our relationship. We want to end this engagement between China and America. And That means, hello, Africa. Let's do business together. So, yeah, that's where we are with Project 2025. It's, goodbye, China. Hello, Africa. So, tell me down your comments, like give me your comments below. Tell me what you think about this Project 2025, the shifting alliances in international relations between America and the rest of the world. It's the new order. Things are going to change completely, like things are about to go south and then go north. Remember what this mandate is promising Africa. They say there is no lack of funding to support Africa's economic rise. So I don't know what happened, like the beef between America and China. I'm just trying to tell you that things really went south for China this time around. And, you heard it. Page 276 of the Mandate for Leadership. They're saying there is no lack of funding to support Africa's economic rise. I like the sound of that. They say the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, provides Africa duty-free access to U.S. markets. The next administration should extend AGOA beyond its 2025 term, but within strategic framework that rewards good governance and pro-free market economic policies. There is no point in wasting massive sums of aid to countries whose governments fail to keep their promises to reform. I'm liking that the US can come to Africa and crack that whip on corruption. I don't care. If America wants to come to Africa and crack that whip of corruption so that we stop this, like, nobodies who steal our resources and they eat our whole GDP. Do you know we have lost a whole GDP? We are losing our country in Kenya we've lost our airport, basically. Basically, we have lost our airport. And you tell me that the US wants to come and crack that whip on corruption, like boom, boom, boom. I am about to just kiss this Project 2025 because, African children have been going hungry, like all this. I'm going to advocate for Project 2025, because we are dying of poverty in Africa. Poverty, to the point where, you don't even want to send money back home because you're so broke, and you're like, how do I do this? I'm like, yes, this is promising a lot for Africa. They're saying USAID, in collaboration with U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, U.S. Department of States, U.S. Department of Treasury, U.S. Department of Commerce, Foreign Commerce Service, should use its convening power, diplomatic heft, and risk-reducing instrument to facilitate U.S.-Africa business relationships and expand Prosper Africa, launched by the Trump administration to bring together services from across U.S. government to help companies and investors do business in U.S. and African markets. Africa is on everybody's mind. What is going to happen to Africa right now? How those resources in Africa are the key to drive the world economic growth, whether it's going to be here in the US, whether it's going to be in China, or whether it's going to be in Africa. Whoever controls the African resources will control the manufacturing of the world, and they are going to win the game of economic war. Under this economic policy of Trump, they are like, it's going to be us. We are going to bring manufacturing back to America. But I think as they're trying to bring manufacturing back to America, there will be some manufacturing starting in Africa too. That could be good news. But, the thing is, I know America, they have a plan. Africa, I don't know if they have a plan. So imagine somebody who has a plan comes to you and you don't have a plan. Who wins? Who wins? The game is always won even before you begin. You know, that's usually the case. So tell me guys, what you think. You know, we still have like a lifetime to watch this happen and unfold, depending on how much, you know, but this will be the conservative president's agenda, Project 2025. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know on your comments below. Like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, God bless you.